Nobody's here. Jay's not there. We're getting our headphones. Sorry, everybody.
Hey, everyone. Sorry, we're running late. We were doing our...
We were recording a little aq6.
Yeah, we're doing aq6 episode.
We did Forbidden Planet. Oh, man, that was so good.
We could have talked for another hour.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So I hope I got to fix you on TikTok. There we go.
So welcome to... I always lose track of what day it is.
I know. Oh, it's because I forget to tell you. It is Wednesday, my dudes. April 22nd of the year of our 2026 Lord. And today, I don't know what we're talking about. I didn't fill out the topic thing. So we're going to talk about a bunch of things. We got a bunch of weird videos that some people have tagged us in. And we'll do some TikToks, and we'll do some other fun stuff, and blah, 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 blah. All right, that's all I have to say about that. Oh, I have a gift for Bob.
Oh, whoa.
Just for Bob. Here we go.
Okay. A gift for Bob?
Like a hand-delivered? Oh.
Yeah, that you already got it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's not. Oh.
So, Ian...
From you?
From me.
Thanks, man.
Ian made this. He made it homemade.
It's a potion.
It's a potion. Let me.
It's a food potion.
It puts the potion.
It gets you in the motion.
Oh, I'm smelling. What's this?
It's hot chili oil. So I made some hot chili oil.
How hot?
It's not that hot.
No.
I wouldn't open
Do
it.
not
It's
open
very juicy. It's mostly oil. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, and
don't open it over on your table.
We'll get all over
It'll
the
be a
table.
good finish.
Yeah, I
Thank
definitely
you.
wouldn't
All right.
do that.
I might have opened it, so thank you for stopping me.
Yeah, that was close.
Ian, thank you, man.
Of
I'm
course.
gonna love it. I love hot.
Yeah, it's not very hot. I used mild peppers, but you know, it's like got fried up shallots and garlic, and it's like.
So, Ian, I get home.
Appreciate it, buddy.
Yes,
And
sir.
I tell my wife, I go, so Ian made us something from his kitchen, and Courtney's like, oh, cool. And I pull it out, and she looked at it. She knew exactly what it was, and she literally went, oh my god, let's have some right now. Like, she got super excited. We're totally into that. I thank
Hot
you, Ian.
stuff. Good. Yeah, I mean, it was a different recipe than I normally make, but it was like a little bit sweeter. I feel like I made it. I put sugar in it.
Hey,
put sugar.
Everybody that's listening to the show right now, I've been curious to know, like, how many of you guys are patrons?
Oh, that's a good question. Post it in the chat.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Chili crisps. Yes, exactly. Captain Burgerian. There we go. Put that in there.
Yeah,
Boom, boom,
Sharon, we
boom.
usually buy it. I think we get ours from Trader Joe's. They have really good, like, ones that have, like, a lot of onion in it, which is fantastic
onion.
as a
That's
base
good. Yeah.
for, like, you know, whatever you're building.
Mm-hmm.
We just got a Trader Joe's in our town, so this is like the first time we're really
experiencing the
yeah,
traders.
it seems like it's a good compliment. It doesn't replace your your regular
major
store for everything else. But just by coincidence, just anecdotally, so we go there the first time, and some of the stuff we bought there got recalled because it had glass in it.
Whoops.
Wow, that'll put
some of the actual stuff that we bought.
Well,
there.
it's a little crunchy.
Yeah.
Wow,
Extra
most of you
crunch.
guys are patrons. Wow, I didn't realize. That's
Yeah, I think a
fantastic.
lot.
All right.
No, I mean, there's a couple of people who are not. But yeah, it is a lot of patrons. Lot of patrons.
So, Steve, here's my take on Trader Joe's. I don't
Yeah.
know if you've spent a lot of time in there, but like the first few times I went, because my wife was very much like, we got to shop here. The prices are great. The food quality is really good. And I walk in, and it just has like a Whole Foods kind of vibe to it, which I don't like.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell, really? You know, I
yeah,
get
it's a little goofy.
But after shopping there now for a couple of years and just trying a lot of their stuff, their brand stuff is fantastic.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So like for example, we get like the frozen soup dumplings.
Yeah, the frozen stuff seems to be where the sweet
Yeah.
spot is.
Very,
Yes,
very
totally,
good.
yeah.
Like you can make meals very easily, and it's high quality. It's good stuff. It's not. You can tell by the way it tastes, but you look at the ingredients and everything. It's all legit.
Too legit.
And like their dairy and the milks and cheeses, they have fantastic cheeses. There's lots of good stuff there. Their fruits and vegetables seem to be good, and their pricing is very good.
Yeah.
So I recommend you start exploring them.
Explore.
Recommend their glass-free.
Glad they got
glass is
glass-free
slightly
stuff
less
is
good.
really good.
I think isn't Aldi's their
downscale
parent
thing?
Oh, it's the downscale, but it's also the parent company, right?
Yeah, so
Isn't it something
oftentimes
like
Oh,
a
really?
company
No, something
owns
like that, I
the
think. I don't
downscale
know.
version of themselves. Like
Right.
Starbucks owns Pete's Coffee,
that?
right? It's like that's a marketing strategy.
I don't
You
think
create
you're right,
a cheap
though.
version of yourself.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and I
that's
think Aldi's
decent
was
business
made
model,
by
I
his
think.
brother, and this guy made
Sync.
Trader Joe's. They're brothers, and they both started their own businesses.
Or maybe
Oh, yeah. I
believe
remember
Aldi-
something about
there's
that.
Aldi Nord
I am correct. I
operates
believe.
Aldi stores in northern Germany, and Aldi Süd operates stores in southern Germany.
What?
Bottom one.
The chains were split in
Read that.
1960 by Karl and Theo Albrecht
Happy birthday.
over a disagreement regarding the sale of cigarettes.
Yes.
There
Okay.
you go. All right, so that's interesting.
Did you guys know that it's a special day today?
Yeah, it's
Is it?
Wednesday.
It is Wednesday.
It's Wednesday.
But today is Silak's birthday.
Whoa, Silak!
And
Happy
Silak
birthday, bro!
has been he's not just a patron, but he is a real help, supporter, mod, does a lot of work. He and Sharon both do a lot of work for us. We really appreciate it. And Silak and I, we've bonded at the last Nauticon. He knows what I'm talking about.
Wu-Tang.
He knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
He did the thing.
It'll never not be something I laugh about because of how wacky that came out.
Oh, we don't have an
Yeah.
emoji in YouTube for that yet.
Yeah, right?
All right, I'll make one. We have one in the Discord, which you should join by becoming a patron. It's a patron-only Discord. All right.
Marshall,
All
I
these
agree
people are
about
out
their
here, so it's
dedication to organic. That has gotten so deep into,
It's
the
not
fabric.
quite as Whole Foodsy organic, though.
No, Whole
Not
Foods.
as Whole
is on
Foods.
another
Whole
level.
Foods is an abomination.
Yeah. I mean, there's some stuff in there that I have to say I can only get from there,
I get
which is
that.
annoying
I
because
get
it's
it.
always organic, but it's like the only thing that is like mushroom broth or some shit.
Yeah.
Like that's good.
I
whatever.
never buy anything organic.
I know, I try not to.
But
it's
the
like-
other thing that kills me
I don't know
is
who that
the non-GMO project,
yes,
which is
fuck
a
them.
complete scam in my opinion.
Yeah.
Just a total scam.
Bastards.
But
Yep.
there are some products that it's super hard to find a
That
brand
aren't,
that
yeah.
doesn't have the non-GMO thing on it, and there
Yeah.
are some where I cannot find
Yeah.
a version.
Yep.
So for the one that's got very difficult is pasta, which
Yes.
is frustrating because there is no GMO wheat on the market.
Right.
And so
They might as
there
well
is
put it
no
on.
GMO pasta,
Right.
so
Yeah.
it's completely unnecessary.
Purely.
Yeah.
I have to get imported brands, which I'm fine with anyway. So like you can't get any of the box pastas in the supermarket. They all have the non-GMO project
Yeah.
on them.
Yeah.
But
So
it's
I-
irrelevant. It's absolutely irrelevant.
It's
'cause-
completely irrelevant.
But you don't want to
I'm
give the
not
companies money.
I'm not endorsing that scam of a label. It's a complete.
Oh,
it's-
gotcha. All right.
It's
It's
like
funny
that.
though. Okay, so let's talk about
But
this
how
for a
much
second.
oil are you burning to get that imported pasta that is contributing to global warming, Steve?
So you're in the supermarket.
I don't know.
And there's
It's like never ending.
There's a product that you really like, or you really want, or you really need it, and it's got the organic thing on it, and it's a skeptic dilemma because you're like, I shouldn't be buying this, but holy shit, I
it's
need
so
it, and you
annoying.
get into that little talk,
Yeah.
and 99% of the time I don't get it.
We should open a grocery store. SGU grocers?
GMO only,
GMO only. All GMO.
or no, the store will be called GM. Oh yeah,
Oh.
oh.
All right. Anyway. All right.
Well,
chat.
happy birthday,
Let's see.
Silac.
Yes, happy birthday,
Happy
Silac.
birthday.
Happy birthday,
Give
bro.
Silac a happy birthday in the chat, y'all.
Hey, before we
please.
go on,
Go ahead.
Ian, is anybody in the chat going to see us in Australia or New
Oh,
Zealand?
good. And also let us know if you're not already in Australia or New Zealand. Like if you're flying
Yeah, that's a
from
good
another
data point, too.
location that's not New Zealand or Australia.
Yeah, so we are like 3 months.
Yeah, just about 3 months.
Tomorrow will be 3 months.
Yeah. Wow,
exactly
man.
when the conference, the
That's
the
gonna be
Australia
here before you
Nauticon
know
starts.
it.
I know. I
Only
know.
foods.
Steve and I have so much work to do. We were just talking about it. I called Steve yesterday in a frenzy. You know, I'm just like, we have to reclaim work hours and stop doing side projects, and we got to get to business. And we just. And Steve's like, I don't disagree, but I just want to slow down a little bit. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Hold up.
We'll get there.
Pump the brakes. All right, let's get on to some
Topics. Yes.
topics.
Yeah, talk about actual
We got
stuff.
so many topics. Okay, alcohol is a biologically active toxin.
Oh boy.
What do
You can
y'all
only have half a glass a year.
Here we go. Let's listen to what.
If alcohol were to be discovered today, the legal amount that we would be able to have, this is based on how we measure like toxicology of certain substances, would be the equivalent of half a glass of wine per year.
Oh my god!
That is how detrimental it is to the brain and body. There are certain things that are
Dose makes
actually,
the poison.
it's got a lot of antioxidants and and so there was a bit of that kind of messaging back in the day, like boomer generation.
The one glass of red wine a day is good for you.
It's good for you. It's good for your health. It's good for your heart, and that's all bullshit. Like that's it's not like that's all been debunked. If alcohol were to be
Yeah, so I think she's in fact undercalling it, if anything.
Yeah.
So, and again, the premise is if alcohol were discovered today,
Yeah.
right? Meaning there's no cultural
Baggage.
background to it
Requirement, yep.
at all, and it was just reviewed as a new potential food item, I don't think it would get approval at all. I don't think because there's really no safe level, in terms of biological toxicity. It's just it would be considered too unsafe, I think, to even get approved for human consumption.
Yep.
It's only
Okay.
because it's an embedded cultural
Right.
molecule, and we couldn't ban it when we tried
Right.
in the 1920s.
The interesting question, though, is how long would it take? And I think it would happen eventually where it did become embedded in culture, similar to how it is now. I think it would eventually happen.
If we allowed it to, but
Right.
if we banned it right away,
Well,
then,
you nip
then
it in the bud?
It wouldn't
Ooh,
happen.
yeah.
I mean,
And-
it's like we have a world full of people that rely on alcohol. You know,
Yeah.
like
To get
it
through the
really
day.
is. Like it's sad, but it's true. I mean, look at Russia. My God, Russia. The life expectancy in Russia is dramatically shortened because of alcoholism.
Well, if you think about the effects of alcohol on society, it is by an order of magnitude worse than every other recreational drug combined.
Yep.
Oh,
By
wow.
an
That
order of magnitude. Everything else is
Combined.
a write-off error for
Yeah.
the effects of alcohol,
Yep.
society,
And
in
because
terms
it's
of
so
health,
embedded.
in terms of negative consequences, crime, violence, car accidents, again, just the direct health issues. It is.
Yeah, where's the war on alcohol?
It's a massive.
There was one. And
I think because of prohibition,
failed.
they're like, well, that
Yeah.
didn't work, and
Yeah.
then so, it's just we just accept it. Basically, you could just treat alcohol use disorder and try to do harm reduction, but there's essentially no effort made. I'm not saying that we should. Maybe I think it's probably culturally just not possible
I mean,
to do that. But we have to recognize how destructive it
Yep.
is
Right.
in our society.
Right,
how
so that
costly.
said, so it is absolutely the worst.
Yeah.
In so many ways, it's almost like a gateway drug to worse things.
I don't know if that's true, but it is
But
bad.
just think of this: there are alcohol dispensaries everywhere on the planet.
Yeah.
Like any major city you go to, like think about if there was heroin dispensaries in every
Everywhere.
major city, and it is stupid expensive to buy alcohol at a
Yeah.
bar, but it's not that bad if you're going to buy a bottle of alcohol in the liquor store.
There's a lot of evidence with different drugs now that like you, short of banning it, restricting it in some way, and there's lots of different kinds of ways that you could restrict it. You could age limit it, you could location limit it, you could make it harder to obtain, whatever. Does reduce its use, right? And the easier it is to obtain and use, the more people use it. So, in the U.S. in the last 10 or 20 years, and I remember talking about this myself 20 years ago, the approach to substance abuse, like even so-called hard, like opiates, has been harm reduction. And I think that massively backfired because you're just basically saying we're going to make it really easy to use these drugs. And so guess what people do? They fucking use the drugs because you made it really easy. Yes, you made it a little safer too, and that's a good thing that you're making it safer, but it just made it into a bigger social problem. And more people are dying from opiate. So the unintended consequences turned out to be far worse than the benefits of the programs that we put in place. You have to make it, there has to be a social stigma attached to it. You have to make it difficult, and that may mean being consequences for doing it, right? So like the idea that you're going to just say, like if you're an unhoused person who's a drug abuser who's using opiates and is addicted, that yes, we'll just give you a safe space where you could safely use your opiates, and there's no criminal ramifications to it, and you could come into our safe house and there's no requirement that you have to not use drugs while you're here. All these things, just people are like, great, I get to use drugs and there's no negative consequences, and I still get access to all the support things. Good. So people do it. And it massively backfired. You have to go back to, again, you don't want to over-criminalize things, and you have to be very, also in the U.S., there's a racial element to it where once you do criminalize it, when things were criminalized, they get disproportionately.
Yeah,
of course. So we have to, but I think we threw the baby out with the bathwater there. It's like, yeah, we need to make a huge effort to enforce these laws fairly rather than decriminalize it because we're incapable of having a colorblind justice system. I think we gave up way too early on that. And then because the net effect was massively negative socially. And I think we just need to, again, I often use the fact that, the worst recreational drug in terms of its impact on society is the one that's legal. And you want to make other drugs into, move it in the direction of the legal drug.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think that happened with marijuana. I know that's probably a very unpopular thing to say, but I think just totally.
Yeah, what's the latest on that in terms of that?
Well, just the federal government just basically not enforcing the laws, and states are rushing to legalize it completely. And again, I think there are reasons to rethink how it is criminalized and how that's enforced. And yes, it was racially biased and all that, but try to walk down the street in New York City now. Like you can't do it.
You smell weed everywhere.
It's like, is that really what we wanted? Is that really what the kind of world we wanted when we said that we were going to legalize it?
Yeah, but how destructive is marijuana use versus alcohol use?
Well, it's not as bad as alcohol.
Yeah, not as bad.
Like if you could,
but that's a pretty low bar, though.
That's true. But does increased marijuana use reduce alcohol use? Is there any studies that say other drugs?
There is evidence that as marijuana use increased, alcohol use has decreased.
Yeah,
that is true.
Maybe there's a benefit, but I don't.
But are we in our optimal world in terms of how we're thinking about and regulating it and the social aspects of it, et cetera? And also, there's the fact that it depends on how you consume marijuana too. Right. Smoking it is worse than smoking cigarettes. Like it's really bad for your health.
No filter, right? Or
even filtered, it's still bad for you.
I don't think you. Yeah,
so,
you don't really
do. It's way we don't have evidence to say that it's completely without negative consequences when it comes to people's motivation and their success in life or whatever. It's complicated. Again, with any of these drugs, there's always people who can use it responsibly in a minimalist way, in a way, and they're going to argue, I have the right as a person to do this, and I'm doing it safely, and it's under control. Yes, but there's also people who are going to overuse it or abuse it or have massive negative health consequences for it? And how do we balance the overall net effects on society? It's complicated, and there's no perfect answer because we can hack our brains to addict us to substances, and that is a vulnerability neurologically in the human species that there is no way around. We just have to. It's a trade-off. We have to choose the trade-offs that we want in terms of liberty and health and whatever, all the other potential negative social consequences.
I like to have a drink every once in a while. When I was young with my friends, we'd go out and get drunk and all that stuff. But the vast majority of my life, remarkably, probably my entire adult life, I've just never been into any kind of substances. But, I do enjoy having a beer or a mixed cocktail every once in a while. But I would happily never have another alcoholic beverage if it helped other people get away from alcohol. By not demanding that it be available 24/7 everywhere on the planet,
Yeah. And I'll admit that, I'm coming at this from partly as a physician. I think that's the most thing. But I don't know how much of a role this plays. I also personally dislike all of these things. I have no interest in using any of these substances. So to me, there's no downside. Like, there is no sacrifice personally. Yeah. I'll admit that. But I don't think it really changes my feelings about it as a physician, and in terms of this is a complicated area. We shouldn't just say liberty, let everybody do whatever they want, don't criminalize it. And we shouldn't overly criminalize it too. We have to find some kind of thoughtful, evidence-based balance that does allow people to use things responsible while minimizing the negative social consequences, because they're massive. Yeah. They are. It's not a little thing. Yeah. There's the potential for massive downsides.
Don't get rid of my coffee, though, because that's when I will freak. I will freak the
fight to my.
It's good for you.
But you can regulate the amount of caffeine that's in there.
So what? I don't care about caffeine.
Yeah, you don't care.
Bob's in favor. Yeah, sorry. Don't use marijuana. You're supposed to use cannabis is the term.
Yeah.
There's like racial connotations.
Why?
There's racial connotations with marijuana because they used it disproportionately to attack Mexican immigrants and xenophobia.
We can't use the word marijuana.
Well, it's the history. You can use it, but the history of it is that it's like to make it sound foreign, to make it so like Americans are scared of this like Mexican drug or whatever.
How about
so
weed?
Like,
is that okay?
Yeah, weed.
How do we keep up with all this shit?
I just told you, so you caught up.
But is there like a newsletter that people are part of that I'm unaware of?
Yes, it's Weed Daily. I don't know. Reefer Madness. Remember that movie?
Reefer Madness.
Oh, yes.
Oh my God.
I'm a fan of Cheech and Chong, and I very much watched all their movies, and they're absurd, but there's something charming about them.
Are they still charming? I don't know. It's been too long since I've
he's
seen
on,
one.
What TV show was Cheech on for like ever now?
Oh, the 70s
like
show.
A cop show. No, wasn't he on a cop show?
I don't remember.
Or was it Chong that was on the 70s show?
Yeah. It was like Cheech was like on a cop show, whatever.
Are there any other words, Ian, that have come up in the last 6 weeks?
Let's not go through all the words we shouldn't be saying. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the next.
Talk about that after the show.
Yeah, Jesus. All right.
Oh boy.
Let's skip her. Let's go back to her and do the magnet one instead. Here we go.
So I want to share more about magnet therapy while I have magnets on my body. Has anyone heard of biomagnetism? This is something that I learned at a medical conference, okay? Right. It was an environmental medicine medical conference. Right now I have an allergy protocol on me because I'm making a YouTube video on a allergy protocol that I give to a lot of my patients who have an overburdened body, because oftentimes the body can't process and eliminate histamine because there's a lot of liver congestion or hormone disruption like estrogen dominance, history of birth control. And I work with a lot of MCAS. And magnet therapy has been unreal. Like, I do it virtually, so this is where it gets really, really woo-woo. But I literally put a protocol on my body and then I send it to that patient. So I muscle test that patient, see what protocol that they require or need that specific day. I place the magnets on my body and then I send it to them. Yes, this is woo-woo, but I do think the future of medicine is frequency. And that's why I'm trying to stay relevant. I'm trying to, even though I've healed myself from chronic illness and autoimmune diseases, I have still been completely obsessed and curious about other ways of healing. Like, it's just never ending. And
all right, so hold on, Ian, hold on.
Go ahead.
Steve, in 3 words or less, give us your reactive summary of
words
this
or
person.
less?
3 words or less.
Or fewer.
Or fewer. That's right. Tell 'em.
You only giving me 3 words.
I can't even use the word less now.
This is total BS crankery. You know.
This
Dude,
is total BS.
Which stands for bullshit crankery. No,
That's
no,
it. 3
BS
words.
is one word.
Total BS crankery.
Total BS crankery. Okay. I
3
take
words.
BS as one word. It's yeah.
It is bullshit.
So when I see videos like this,
Initialism.
like first off, she's saying the quiet part out loud because she's literally saying, I know this sounds like woo and everything, like she's saying it's woo, but it works, which would mean
Anecdotally.
to you it isn't woo. But I don't understand why she would even go there. Like, you either are backing what you're saying and you believe
I tried to look her up. 'Cause I always, like, when she's saying I treat patients, I was like, all right, what are you? And she has doctor in front of her name. I doubt she's an MD.
No,
But I couldn't find her
I highly doubt it.
online. I don't know if you have any information, Ian. But
No.
sounds like if I were a betting man, I would say she's probably a naturopath.
An ND, yeah.
But it doesn't really matter. What she's saying is total nonsense. So, magnet therapy has been studied now for 40 years more. Actually, magnets as therapeutic devices is
Longer than that.
250 years old. There was actually a skeptical book written in the mid 1800s debunking all the magnet snake oil of the time.
I want to
that's
meet
cool.
those writers, man. Let's go back in time.
It's the same that we have today. It's the same shit that's out today.
But worse.
So taping magnets to your body does literally nothing. Like, there's no physiological mechanism here.
Frequency, Steve.
Whatever. That's magic. I was like, is this a whopper or is this a gimme? It's science fiction. It's total science fiction.
Whopper.
It's a whopper. And then she adds another layer in that she's sending it to her patients. She's doing it to herself.
Man. Yeah.
And then, I don't know, does she email it to them? And
No, man, 5G.
That's not
I
a
told
joke.
you, Steve, people can send bad shit over 5G. Man.
5G,
Yeah.
or she just mentally, psychically sending it to them.
So,
And she threw out the other thing that I picked up. You guys pick up, she muscle tests them. Did you
Yes.
pick that up?
Yes, I did.
That's applied kinesiology. So that's like,
man.
hold the thing in your hand, and you're weak, so therefore you're allergic to the thing.
Redacted
so let me,
said, I'd be so rich
that-
if I didn't have ethics.
Is that blinded?
We've been saying that for 30 years. 30 years. I know. Could you imagine? Like, so many of us would become filthy rich because we know exactly what to do. But the point is, see, I look at someone like her, and I'm like, I waffle between I feel really bad for her, and I feel really angry at her.
She's an ND. I just found it.
She is an MD.
And
yeah, she's a naturopath.
Yeah, okay,
100%. Thank you. I called that.
But because I look at the amount of misinformation that she has digested and believed, and she's a victim, as most people are with mis and disinformation, right?
It's simultaneous. It's both at the same
It is
time.
both
She's
at the
a
same
victim,
time.
but she's also responsible for her own
promoting
life.
it now, so it's like
Right.
Yeah.
And whatever.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, where do they get some of these like ideas? Is there any science behind magnets being used in medicine?
No.
And how do they pull it out?
Yeah, and I think the vast majority,
somehow.
I could
It's
be
just
wrong, but over my experience, the vast majority, to me, there's 2 origins, I think, of most of the bullshit. Mm-hmm. It is someone that creates it but believes it. Like, I think the guy that created homeopathy, I think he believed his bullshit.
Yeah, but you're going back 200 years.
Yeah.
This is,
But I do think that there's an extraordinary amount of medical quackery that is manufactured. They know it's bullshit. They're just coming up with the like the acai berry juice, that whole thing. I don't think
some of it you can reverse engineer. Like, that this was a conscious scam.
Yes.
This is a scam.
I think most of them are scams, though.
But like, people like her, I think, are probably just true believers. But the other thing is, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And we're never going to know for sure. So the bottom line is, she's not doing her scientific, ethical due diligence. She's operating within a pseudoscientific system, and she's doing it wrong. She's thinking wrong. Like, saying that there's no possible mechanism, but it's frequencies, and but it works and whatever. No, you're doing it wrong. You were trained wrong. You were trained by quacks to be a quack, and that is what you are.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Well, thank you for that one, Ian.
no problem. Happy to help contribute to the brain rot.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, someone says use for magnets in medicine, MRI. There's lots of magnets in technology used for. There's no, but magnet therapy is what we were saying.
That's right.
Which is the idea that you can, like, the magnetic fields could in some way, like, it improves your blood flow or it attracts the iron in your blood. All nonsense. It is nothing.
It seems like it's
frequency is just new age nonsense. That's just new age magic.
Yeah, vibrational energy. Whatever.
Vibrational
It's
frequency and blah blah blah.
All right, let's look at this guy.
This fucking guy.
Debunk the debunkers.
Here we go. Get
So
ready.
rever-
Everyone
double
strap
reverse
themselves in.
debunk.
Claim that I believe that NASA and other intelligence agencies around the world are lying to the general public about Apophis and the fact that it's actually going to hit Earth. But I keep seeing the same argument in the comments saying it's impossible that that's the case because there are all these amateur astronomers that are tracking it as well. Let's put that to the test, shall we? So let's start with the telescope. This is equipment that would be available to amateur astronomers. Standard professional grade telescopes, 2-meter class or larger, that can establish the trajectory by taking multiple images over time. At least this is what AI is telling me. But it gets more interesting because if you look at the radar component, you really need that to nail down the orbit and speed with high precision. And then you use radar echoes to reveal the asteroid's physical shape and orientation. But then you have to use infrared to see the mass because you can't really see that just from radar and the telescope itself. So what kind of equipment do you need to measure the mass? Basically a James Webb telescope. And you know, there's lots of those, which leads me to conclude the same thing, that the people who are in charge of the information get to tell us how big it is. And to take it a step further, you need NASA's OSIRIS-APEX to perform high-resolution gravity mapping and surface analysis to really get a detailed understanding of the size and scale of this asteroid. So is this really an asteroid that tons of amateur astronomers all around the world can measure in great detail? No! And I can prove it right here. Amateur astronomer access. As of right now, 2026, the magnitude of Apophis is far beyond the reach of visual observation for even the best amateur telescopes. Only a very small number of advanced amateurs with high-end remotely operated observatories and sophisticated CCD cameras can capture it through long integration photography. And this is where I slam the door shut on all the naysayers, because of all the amateur astronomers, there are estimated to be about 200,000 to 500,000 of them. Effectively, zero have visual access of Apophis today. Digital access today, a few hundred highly skilled astrophotographers. So the important question to ask then is this: do NASA, the intelligence agencies, and the world governments have the capacity to silence a couple hundred astrophotographers? Why don't you tell me what you think in the comments?
I don't think you want me to do that.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a long one. But,
So first of all,
there's a lot of straw men in there.
Would everyone that likes to watch this live stream, would you guys like it if we took it on the road, like Steve, Bob, and I literally wore like wife beaters and walked as we did the show?
Actually,
because someone in the comments brought that up, and I thought, we could get our exercise in and live stream at the same time.
we could get some New Haven pizza, walk to the pizza place.
Okay, so
that's not what I thought you meant initially when you said on the road.
On the road.
What my take, I know, right? My take on this guy
walkway.
is it's fear-mongering. Look, sure, NASA could be covering it up. Like that might be a strategy that they already decided that they would do if they found anything in the beginning at some point. They're not just going to come out with the information, prematurely or whatever. If NASA 100% knew that a body was going to hit the Earth, do you guys think they would tell us?
Well, that's not the question. The question is, would they tell the government?
Yeah.
Which they have to. So they would. Are you saying would they break the law by covering up that information and not revealing it to the oversight committees?
All right, so let's say they
so then what you're really saying is, would the federal government hide that information from the
what
public?
Do you think? Would they do it?
It's hard to predict, but I don't think they could. Again,
Too big of a
couldn't
secret.
cover a blowjob in the Oval Office.
Yeah.
Do I think the Trump administration would be hiding this information? No way. Do they have the discipline of message to keep that bombshell away from the public? But again, that's just speculation. People could say what they want to say about it. There's no way to prove or disprove it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But let's break down what he's saying a little bit. So first of all, he says he believes Apophis is going to hit the Earth. Why? Why do you believe that?
Yeah.
Again, what is your basis for believing that? There is none.
It's just
and there's
general
no
distrust.
positive case. Yeah. It's just they lie. I don't believe them. They could be lying. You can't prove to me that they're not lying. Therefore, they could be lying. Therefore, they are lying. But there's no positive evidence or positive case for why he could possibly know that he basically proved that he can't know. Basically, is what he did.
Yep. But what about his comment about the small scale astronomers not being able to really know what's going on?
Again, I think that's bullshit because first of all, as he said initially, that there's hundreds of thousands of amateur astronomers who could have calculated the orbit of Apophis, right? And that's really all you would need to know in order to know if it's going to intersect the Earth's orbit at any point. All the other stuff was like exactly how big it is and gravity mapping it. It's like, but you don't have to do all that stuff to know if it's going to hit the Earth or not. He was claiming you did need to know. That was just confusion. That was just distraction and confusion. And so, and the other thing he did, which was totally intellectually dishonest, was like saying, well, you couldn't see it today. It's like, okay, maybe at its current location in its orbit, but that doesn't mean they never could see it. They could see it at other points in its orbit.
Absolutely.
And that's when they calculated its orbit. So he did not prove that there isn't an army of amateur astronomers out there who would have some information about the orbit of Apophis and would know if it was possible that it was hitting the Earth. Maybe they might not know to the precision that NASA knows, but that doesn't mean that they would have no idea what the orbit of Apophis is because they don't have access to the James Webb telescope and don't know exactly how big it is and they weren't able to gravity map it or whatever other bullshit he said. So he's full of shit. But the other thing is that the big thing is that he has no idea that Apophis is going to hit the Earth. He's just making that up.
Yeah.
There's no reason to think this. And of course, we've been here 1,000 times before.
Right. You could take.
What do they say? 2029. What's he going to be saying in 2029? Right. It's just.
Well, we'll never hear of this guy again.
Or he'll be on to some other BS.
You could take his formula right here.
Yeah.
And lay it on top of basically any claim, anything where you don't have instant access to the information or couldn't get it yourself in any way. It's like, okay, well, so at its core, he just has a general distrust for the big agencies around the world. He's assuming that they're hiding information. This right here, in my opinion, is a very bad case of fear-mongering.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Because people...
The world's going to be destroyed in 4 years or 3 years?
Yeah. So people, that look, let's face it, whether you're in or out of the United States, Trump is stressing the shit out of everybody. And the last thing the world needs is more fucking stress. Like this guy, just shut up. If you don't have any real evidence... Just go fucking run into the pond, dude, and don't post your shit.
He totally glossed over the fact that there are space agencies and astronomers in other countries.
Yeah.
But again, there's sort of implicit here that NASA controls them all.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
And NASA's this maniacal, massive, world-controlling organization.
Totally doable.
It's completely ridiculous. It's completely absurd.
Imagine the funding they would need.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
It's so
and I was thinking they could probably calculate the orbit. Within tolerances, we're like, all right, this is going to miss by so much that even if I'm off by this amount in terms of mass and velocity and all that, it's still not going to hit the Earth. It's just.
Someone asked, "What's the point of storing up fear here?" It's called clicks.
Yeah, it's clickbait.
It's all
advertising.
It's all trying to get people to watch him.
Yeah.
He's,
or just ego, but
it's just bullshit. Anyway, that was fun.
That was fun. All right, let's move on to let's do a funny one before we do something.
Yeah, I'll give him $1,000 today if he gives me $10,000 in 2030. That's a good investment.
That tracks.
All right, let's see if we.
You'll never get it.
Looks some frequency healing.
Oh, come on.
You love frequency healing?
I love it. He's got to date that other girl.
Yeah.
The magnet girl.
That's a big tuning fork. He must really know what he's doing.
Nice
he could destabilize your Earth's magnetic field with that thing.
That's the second biggest tuning fork I've ever seen.
All right, let's watch him for a second.
This better be good.
Hold on. Sounds pretty cool.
Where did he hit himself?
In the knee, in the leg.
I love it.
This is a bit, right?
No, he hit it. I think this is him doing
serious.
it for
The
real.
dangers of sound healing.
Let's watch it again. It was short. I gotta see.
Right here.
Ow!
Well, that does look like it would hurt.
That thing's heavy, man. Look
He
at
almost
that.
said,
Is that the whole video, I hope?
Get back to the whole
video. That's awesome. I love it. I want to see more of these videos, Ian.
I saw that. I was like,
That's awesome.
That's why it seems like a bit to me.
It seems like it could be a bit.
Yeah.
I
But
hope
it's
those types of
funny.
accidents don't happen with a lot of frequency.
Oh,
I see what you did there,
Lord.
Jay.
Yes.
Oh, mighty. All right, let's.
Where do you get a tuning fork that big, and why?
For that reason?
Must be
I
for some
guess.
industrial use.
Yeah, but that's what I want to know. Like, what? Why would you? Anyone?
When you're
Amazon.
tuning one of those super big organs.
Big. Hurts, don't it?
Yeah,
Hurts.
it hurts. Yeah, how did we miss that?
Oh my God. That's
Oh,
ridiculous. All right, I got another. Who's that noisy now? That's kind of a who's that noisy, that one. But all right, let's see what this one is.
I love it.
I am not happy that you're showing this, Ian. I was going to use this on Who's That Noisy.
Oh, were you?
Were you really?
Yeah.
Well, not anymore.
Well, the people here won't tell.
No, they will.
No, they won't. Don't tell.
This thing is cool as
Just
hell.
wait a couple of
Just
months,
watch
Jay.
this. Keep playing it. It's pretty damn cool.
I was gonna send it to you because I wasn't sure if you thought.
That sounds like a computer noise.
Is that a pan flute?
Yeah.
Is that Zamfir?
Wow, I love
Pretty
it.
cool. You can still use it.
They
Nobody
must
will
be
know.
stiff and strong, those damn things.
Yeah, with like a little, I don't know, wax on the top.
I have
of
to
it.
say, I am so glad, Ian, that I don't have one of those in my house.
it would be constant.
Oh my God, my kids would be sleeping on that thing. It would never not be making noise.
They'd get bored of it in a few months.
No, not that.
You don't think so?
Yeah, what would you even call that thing?
I don't know. That's a good question. Come up with a name, chat. Birds.
It'd be like unsolvable.
Gotta have a name.
How high was the guy playing it too? That's the other thing I want to know.
All right. Let's see. What
Another
is this?
unintended consequences.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right.
Higher than. All right.
Mind altering.
Oh, I saw this.
All right. So yeah, this one. Well, I sent it to you. This one is interesting. Let's
See how he demeans me?
I didn't.
If you've ever heard of this, Natalie. Okay. I tried taping a pinto bean overnight on my wart and it dried up and fell off quickly. Are there any risks to these types of home remedies?
So before you sent me that, I've never heard of it. So
Wow,
after that, I
okay.
went and I looked
Yeah.
up the studies on it, like from like a medical standpoint, and they actually, a lot of dermatologists are recommending it.
Wow.
So it's,
Wow.
I
I'll
have
do
no,
it.
I'm
Okay.
sorry.
I said I have a wart, so I'll do it.
Yeah, try it.
I was going to try
Let's
it.
see.
So the wart dries up the pinto bean?
The opposite. I was like, wait, no.
That sounds more plausible.
So I looked up the study too and actually read the study.
Yes.
The pinto bean is completely irrelevant. The
It
pinto bean is just a hard, small thing. That's it. You can use
Okay.
anything.
Bob knows all about that.
Yeah,
Okay.
Bob.
Jay.
So what? And they're only tried it on digits, warts, digital
On
warts,
your, you mean
fingers and toes.
not computer warts?
No.
No,
Right.
fingers and toes. So the idea is like, let's say you have a wart right here. You put the bean on there and you wrap it.
So
You
it's
pressure
tight.
wrap it.
Yes.
And then so it squeezes it
Yeah.
and it
Pushes it
It-
into your skin.
no, it
No.
basically prevents blood flow from getting to it.
Oh, so it's,
Because right,
It's
because
like
chokes
tying
it
a thread
out.
around the wart.
it
Yeah.
chokes it out.
it chokes it out. That's right.
Like a
And,
little
and it could take up to a couple of weeks, but it could work. You
Okay.
do that until the thing falls off.
Until the wart or the pinto bean?
Until the wart falls off.
Okay.
Yeah, until you.
So you don't
until
need the
it
pinto
dies.
bean. You could just put tape on
A
it.
hard marble.
Anything
Yeah.
small and hard that you can push against it. But this is
Jay,
Jesus, Jay.
keep it together. Lord Almighty.
Come on, like it's. I'm sorry.
I know. There's so much. There's so little fun.
It's like if you have a skin
So
tag, you
little
could
fun
tie
we
it
have
at
in
the
the world.
base,
Right.
and then you're starving it of blood
I've
flow.
done that.
And then it will die.
It worked.
I've
No,
done
I'm
that
trying
too.
to enjoy myself, and
All
everyone's
right,
got
you
to
can
come down
have-
on me.
all
Can I
right,
laugh?
All right. Can I legalize comedy?
Damn, I know, right? Like, give me the list of things I'm not supposed to laugh at.
But I don't know why
We'll
they
put
chose
a
a
list
pinto
together.
Yeah.
Why they chose a pinto
bean. I think
bean?
they just used the pinto bean, but I don't think people realize that the pinto bean's irrelevant.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with the pinto bean.
A lot of people were asking in the comments, like,
raw
or cooked?
It's got to be
like,
hard.
why?
It's like
Presumably
Right,
raw.
yeah,
it's not. It's not only raw. It's not soaked in water. It's hard.
so if you're
it's
like-
dried pinto bean.
If you're in a bind and you don't have access to a skin doctor, you could pick something hard and tape it to a wart, and it might choke it out. Okay.
Maybe.
yeah, that's basically it.
Basically.
Everybody is agreeing with me. Just leave me
One
alone.
person agreed with you.
No,
One.
It's like 25 people.
25.
25 overinflates. Now who's over? Okay, never mind. All right, let's watch this guy who has something to share, we think.
Yes.
The Iceman that was found in the Alps in
Iceman.
1991
Wait, hold
had
on,
two
pause it.
mushrooms.
Oh, God.
Are you guys seeing a pattern here?
The walking.
Yeah, they're all moving.
What's with that?
Or driving.
Why
They're
are
walking
they all
or
why?
driving.
What's going on? What is
It's
this
what
a
the kids
thing?
are into these
It's what
days,
the
Jay.
kids-
They don't need a
this guy.
set. They don't need a set.
But
It's instant. You know how you watch ones where they like put the phone down as they're starting the record?
yeah.
That like they do that intentionally to like jostle you into looking at it. At least that's what they claim. I don't know how. You know, it makes it like look like it's off the cuff or something like that.
Yeah.
So, like,
Okay.
this is kind of the same thing.
I don't like
know.
it.
I don't
You
like
don't like it.
We'll do it with Steve and walking to pizza. Come on.
Okay.
With meatballs.
Can I do it to Saturday Night Live? The music. Da-da-da.
Dead.
So now Sharon's gonna mod me out of existence.
Don't make me mod you.
All right.
All right, let's watch
attached
it.
to his belt.
All right, so Iceman had fungi attached to his belt.
This Iceman was 5,000 years old and is going to make you question
Wow,
history
how did
as
it
it
live so long?
stands. So, the two mushrooms. The first was a birch polypore. Now, here's the fascinating thing. Birch polypore is able to attack intestinal parasites. When the researchers did an autopsy on this 5,300-year-old body, they found it had whipworm parasites inside it. The guy was carrying around medicine 5,300 years ago. The second thing that he had, the second mushroom, was a tinder hoof. And the tinder hoof is a hard mushroom, but on the inside it has this thread-like fibre that when urine is put on it, dried out, you're able to start a fire like that. Think about it.
I don't believe a
5,300-year-old
fucking word this
Iceman
guy's
called
saying.
Utsi had medicine and fire.
All right,
That he
so
was
the
traveling
guy
around.
had two different mushrooms on
It's real
him.
anymore.
Very likely he was just eating them.
No.
Possibly, but
I mean,
Why not?
I think well, possibly he was eating them. Listen, so let's say
For
this,
nutrition, not medicine, though. I mean, it's not saying it's
well,
impossible.
we
that-
do not know.
We don't
Right,
know.
we do not
but
know.
Wouldn't you think it's more likely that he's just eating
No,
them?
I don't think it's necessarily more likely.
He also
Th-
had a bag of the ones that you can start a fire with, just so.
Yeah,
there
yeah,
are
yeah.
Multiple.
So-
Is that true about peeing on the mushroom? It'll,
I don't know, but 5,000 years ago, this guy was clearly a like woodsman. Like he was.
Oh my God,
He was
right?
He was
had
Aragorn.
he had a copper axe, a dagger.
Strider.
You know, he had survivalist material.
He'd be a
on
great
him.
in an apocalypse.
Yeah. So this guy,
Was he carrying a broken piece, sword that was in pieces?
No.
no,
Okay, he wasn't. He wasn't.
the shards of
Strider.
Narsil. No,
Yeah,
he
it
wasn't.
was.
So
Nerds.
5,000 years ago, somebody had fire-starting material on them. Okay,
Yeah, that's fine.
That doesn't blow my
Wow.
mind. And remember, these people probably lived with parasites and stuff. The fact that they figured out that if you eat this mushroom, it might help your stomach a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. Either it was food or it was for some
Right.
Utility.
minor medicinal utility. Okay, fine.
Now, if he had a fucking flashlight,
Yeah,
then
then
I'd be like, good, make the video.
Or a
And-
laser pointer.
But this is again, we were talking about our futurism book on our
right.
AQ6 episode. This is again, people assume that people in the past were dumb or more primitive than they actually
Yeah.
were. They grossly overestimate the primitiveness of earlier generations. It's just a thing that we do.
I mean, they had the same mental capacity.
They were
that we
just
do.
as smart as we
They
were.
were us. It's us.
And they were very sophisticated. They were surviving. They were doing what they were doing.
Oh,
they were
man.
very sophisticated in what they were doing.
Yeah.
They didn't have industrial technology, but they had probably incredible. And then we know this from modern tribe, like modern, Bushmen or whatever.
Yeah.
They have incredible knowledge about their local environment. Every plant and animal in their
Oh my
environment.
God, yeah.
They're,
And they're passing down the
they're not
knowledge, too.
spending their days watching TikTok videos. They're spending their days
Oh my
learning
God.
what mushrooms to eat when you're shitting worms or whatever.
Yeah.
This is completely reasonable. At
Nothing
face
to see-
value.
nothing to
Again,
see here.
we're inferring from the
what
things
he
that he had on him.
And we could be wildly wrong.
But
on all accounts,
it could be
potentially.
wildly wrong. But again, it's not extraordinary in the slightest
Right.
that a survivalist from 5,000 years ago had that kind of technology on
Yeah.
him.
Takes more than that to impress
He had
us.
other kinds of stuff on him too that was probably medicinal or maybe food.
Sure.
You
Sure,
know,
yeah.
whatever. It's fine. It's fine.
Did you ever hear the Dara maybe O'Brien.
Dara O'Brien.
O'Brien, like joke where he's like, we tested the herbal medicine stuff, and what worked became medicine, and everything else became a bowl of potpourri. Or something. It's like a funny bit. He says it better clearly, but it's like,
he's skeptical.
Clearly.
He's a skeptical.
All right, so this is just hype, and he's trying to get clicks.
It's just like, I'm amazed at this, and the scientists are like, yeah, this is pretty cool, but we kind of figured this is consistent. This doesn't rewrite history or anything, whatever he was saying. This is perfectly consistent. But again, it is important to realize that our bias into thinking about primitives being simple, and it's not true. They were very sophisticated, very knowledgeable, but just with the technology at their time.
Yeah.
But they, it's the same thing. Like they couldn't have built the pyramids, or how did they make this perfectly smooth pot? Because they were spending their lives doing stuff, and they developed advanced skills. Again, within the technology of their time.
Yeah, I mean, look at
they
all
did amazing things.
The Romans had amazing analog technology.
Totally.
Or how about, you can't make a perfect circle in crops?
Right.
We need alien technology to do that. Really? A rope and a stick?
Rope and a stick will do.
Jesus.
All right, well, that was fun, Ian.
That was fun.
I love Otzi. My favorite anecdote about Otzi is that they were trying to figure out how he died. And they had an X-ray of him for like 2 years.
Oh my God, this was nuts.
They're examining this X-ray to try to figure out how he died. And the answer was staring them in the face for 2 years.
Did he have a hole in his skull?
He had an
arrow in his
back.
Well, what?
They missed it. It's inattentional blindness, right? They just weren't looking for an arrowhead, so they didn't see it.
So
and can you imagine, like, what the fuck is that?
I bet you that I bet a lot of people, when they saw it, they were like, someone would have picked up on that. That's so obvious that, but it could have been.
It can't be what it seems to me to be absolutely.
Scientists missed it.
Some researcher was like,
how stupid are we?
What killed this guy? You mean other than the arrowhead in his back? What? But there was a study, because you guys know the gorilla basketball video, right?
Yeah,
so there was an actual study where they gave some number of radiologists CAT scans of the thorax, and
gorilla.
They said read it, and they had a fucking gorilla in the image. And something like 40% of them didn't see the gorilla
because they're not
looking for it. But it was, although they're supposed to read everything, but still, you train your eyes to see things. You probably guys have experienced this when you're playing. There are certain games where you're hunting for something, a video game or a puzzle or whatever. Like when we're playing Fallout or whatever, and you're looking for something. You train yourself to filter for that thing, and you get really good, and then it takes you a while to stop seeing it everywhere because you're
you can mindfully change your focus.
If somebody tells me
focus to look for something specific,
somebody says, Bob, go find this in this closet or whatever, and I will often have to say, what shape am I looking for? Give me some context, because if my mind can look for something specific, but if it's not what I'm looking for, I will go right by
you won't see it.
Even though it might be blatant.
My wife can tell me to go get something, tell me where it is. I go, I can't find it. I go, it's not there. All right, it's just not there. And then she'll go, and I'm like, you just materialized that thing in your hand.
Prestidigitation. She had it in her hand. See, it's been here all along.
That happens all the time to me and John. Either way, like we're looking for something. It's right in front of you.
Expectation.
My theory, though, is that I think men have a deficit here.
I don't know. I think it's. I don't think it's actually, we have, if anything, better visual spatial processing than women.
Not in my house.
On average. But
all the video games we played.
I think it's the context. If you're looking for something that you're familiar with, then you'll be able to find it better. You're used to seeing it. It stands out.
Someone in the chat said, my wife calls this man-looking.
Love it.
But again, it cuts both ways. Sometimes if it's something I'm more familiar with.
I want to take a picture of that from
if it's a piece of technology.
I got to send this to
Taking a picture of a
I
comment.
don't know if you can see it on the screen, but
I got it. Okay, I'll text that to her. She'll appreciate that. Thank you. I can at least say it, because now it's a thing. Courtney, I didn't find it because it's man-looking.
I have a condition.
You're using it as an excuse.
When you name something, you give it power.
Yeah,
that's true.
if you control a thing, or was it you destroy a thing, you control a thing? Was it
If you can destroy a thing, you can control a thing.
Yeah, I think that's Muad'Dib.
What's that from?
Muad'Dib.
It sounds
Dune.
familiar. I just forget the
Dune.
Dune.
He's talking about when they're gonna halt spice production.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And when he's giving the speech in that
he who controls the spice controls the universe.
Man, I wish spice was real.
Spice.
Outer spice.
Outer spice. When we're sending him another. Yeah, that's true. All right. Well, we basically have the TikToks left. I do have this story from Wired, but also maybe why don't we talk about what you wrote about on SBM for a second, if you don't mind. The new review. Okay.
Wow.
New review cast out on Alzheimer's drugs, but is controversial.
What's happening?
You want the short answer
Short.
up front?
Yeah, give us the short.
Yeah.
It's bullshit.
Oh.
But let me tell you why. The context is important. So there's 2 FDA-approved drugs to treat Alzheimer's disease. They're both monoclonal antibodies. They both target amyloid. Amyloid is one of the theories about what causes Alzheimer's disease. It's a protein. It builds up in plaques, right? So one of them attacks the protein, the other one attacks the plaque, but it's both basically targeting amyloid. This is a major theory of a cause of Alzheimer's.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
But for 30 years, drugs designed to reduce amyloid did not work.
Did they? They didn't reduce the amyloid.
Well, even if they did, they didn't work clinically. They didn't slow down the disease or improve it. And so after 30 years of failed amyloid drugs, there's a lot of research like we're on the wrong track. This is
They had to relent and be like, yep, we
No, nobody. There were some people individually, but we didn't collectively relent. It was just there's different schools of thought.
Okay.
There's one school of thought is like amyloid's the wrong track. That's why it hasn't worked for 30 years. The other school of thought is like we just haven't done it well enough. We need to do it earlier, better, whatever, and
stronger, faster.
And then. There's also people who say, yes, well, it's part of the picture, but it's not the whole picture.
So what's the answer?
So, well, this is the debate, right? So now, when these 2 drugs got approved, the MABs, lecanemab and denosumab, right? So MAB is monoclonal antibodies.
Yes,
so these are proteins that they're monoclonal. They're all the same.
Yep.
So they attack the amyloid and they break it down. So in one stage or another.
Yep.
And they both were shown. They got FDA approval because they were shown to slow the progress of Alzheimer's.
Yes.
The effect is modest, and they have side effects and they're expensive as fuck, right? But
what happened to the amyloid?
It breaks it down. So reduce it. They definitely do that. They definitely do that.
So they're removing the plaque in essence. Okay.
Yeah. Well, one was, I think one attacks the amyloid itself to prevent it from becoming plaque, and the other one actually breaks down the plaque.
And your body can expunge it once it's broken down.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
So the real issue here is that they're not doing it on a large enough scale.
Well, the thing is, they work. These 2 drugs work, right? They have moderate.
Removing all of it, or just
no. They're moderately effective.
Okay.
In clinically.
Gotcha.
Right. So they again, removing the plaque is step 1. Showing that it actually is clinically significant is this step 2, right? So there was actually a 3rd drug that got preliminary approval, but then it didn't really work, so they got rid of that, right? But so there's 2 now that work. And we talked about this on the show at the time. It's great that we have these drugs that are moderately effective for Alzheimer's, although you have to get early. It's maybe only in a subset of people, and a lot of people to get side effects. Sometimes big side effects.
Give me some bad
brain
ones.
bleeds,
Well,
brain swelling.
Yeah, we don't want that.
And so some people can't take it because they get a side effect. So on the whole, this is not a massive clinical benefit, but what's
progress, man.
It's the first proof of concept. It's the first time we've been able to show that targeting amyloid has a clinical effect, and that's critical. So of course the amyloid people were dancing in the streets. It's like proof of concept. We're right. We just have to keep going down this road and make better, more targeted, earlier, targeted whatever treatments. But amyloid is at least part of the answer. But other people were still like, well, but the effect is really modest and blah, blah, blah. So what these researchers did, there was a Cochrane review, which is like the evidence-based medicine institution, right? They did a review of all monoclonal antibodies that target amyloid, and they did a meta-analysis and showed that there was no clinically significant benefit. And then they conclude that we really should abandon amyloid as a therapeutic target in Alzheimer's.
Even after these two new.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the new review that we're talking about.
Is
So
it the new zoo review?
It's not the new zoo review.
Okay.
It's just a new
Wow,
non-zoo review.
what a callback. All right.
But
So is that the
so-
problem of not being science-based versus evidence-based?
no.
Ooh.
So
Okay,
what?
never mind.
What
Good question,
What do you
Ian.
think the truth
I'm
is
just
in
trying
here?
to set it
What
up.
do you?
But
really
what's
think?
the question? What is the deal with this study, this review?
Yeah.
What's up? What's happening?
So I don't know if you caught it, but they reviewed
All of them, and
them.
here's 98% of the crap ones, and it's
So-
drowning the 2% that work.
Exactly. So there's like 7 or 8 drugs that don't work that we know don't work. We've abandoned.
Yeah.
So
them.
is this deliberate?
I don't know.
It's,
It's.
it's
And they mixed it with the 2 drugs that do work, and they said taken as a class, there's no.
It's absurd.
That's so disingenuous. I mean,
Right?
it's like, give me a break.
I don't like
That's like
And then
calculated.
they conclude we should look at other mechanisms, and we should not
Wow.
no longer like research amyloid as a therapeutic target.
That's
It seems like the other side trying to rescue their position, despite it makes no sense to include drugs that have been shown
so
to
nobody
work.
who knows their shit
with-
is buying that stupid
Yeah,
that
but
study.
the mainstream media is. So
Oh.
they're widely reporting it. And UK is using that to justify not paying for the drugs
Come
that do
on.
work.
What the hell?
What the hell?
And
Yeah,
they
so
cost
they're
like
saving money. Yeah,
£70,000
yeah,
a
they're
year.
saving.
Yeah, they're expensive. So,
Oh, what shit, man.
yeah, as soon as I read that, I was like, whoa. They're including drugs that don't work in the meta. Why would they do that? It makes absolutely no
you
sense.
can scuttle any drug that way.
Yes, you can.
You know, the problem I have is if it's obvious to me, who I have nothing to do with any of this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No training, nothing. I'm just a skeptic.
But I'm setting it up for you. But yes.
But the point is,
the logic is pretty clear.
come on.
Yeah.
Like, how could the researchers not see that?
So there was.
There's a motive, Steve.
That's
I
galling,
bet
man.
there's a motivation.
Maybe, but then it's being highly criticized by other experts who are like, dude, this doesn't really tell us much because you're mixing it with drugs that don't
Yeah,
work.
this isn't even
You're
really
diluting the
nuanced.
effectiveness. But it is true that the effect is modest, right? But not everyone agrees to that. So I actually found a really good review from 2025 that looked at just the drugs that work.
Ooh, okay.
And they said, yes, when you review all the data on these 2 drugs, there is a clear but modest clinical effect. And they peeled out, they teased out the different types of effect. And their conclusion was nuanced. It says, this works, but we have to, individualize it to patients who by their tau status, which is the other
Yeah.
protein that is associated with it, and by their amyloid status and by their genetics. And we may need to ultimately combine this with
Jay.
drugs that address these other mechanisms in Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
All right, so the end result is that you're furious.
I wasn't
It's
furious.
galling,
It was
though.
it was a great article for me to write on
it
science-based
was good.
medicine.
It sounds crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
for
what's the
doing
thing
that,
is,
by
like
the way.
about a year ago, like pretty much right before I retired, one of the grand rounds for my department was on this. It was on the treatment of Alzheimer's disease, and what the review that I read, said was pretty much exactly what this researcher was saying. Was here's what we got: we have amyloid, we have tau, we have vascular pathology, we have inflammation. We have different patients with different status, genetic, not genetic, tau, amyloid. We have to personalize the treatment based upon these factors. We have to identify them early. The earlier you treat it, the more effective it is. But we have taken the first step on a path
Finally,
to
yeah.
probably a cocktail of treatments addressing multiple mechanisms individualized to different subtypes of Alzheimer's
this is-
disease.
but
rather
historically-
than amyloid doesn't work.
But historically, that's how it works with drug development.
Yeah.
They figure out something that has a toehold. Yep, this actually has a measurable effect.
But this is,
And then
but
they tweak it.
Alzheimer's is more complicated than the usual disease target because it is something that it's a category of multiple different diseases and with probably maybe multiple, mechanisms all contributing to the final effect.
Yes.
And so it may be one of those diseases that there is never going to be one treatment for it. You need to attack it. Like cancer, like most people, we treat cancer with 4 or 5 different treatments addressing different aspects
Right.
of the cancer, and not just one pill makes it go away.
Were these the drugs that showed actually some reversal of Alzheimer's?
Yeah, I mean,
These were-
reversal
were
in
these the
terms
ones?
of, it depends on what you're looking at. In terms of like amyloid plaque burden, yes.
No,
Clinically,
just cognition. Just just their.
No, it just slows the progress.
Oh, okay. Where did I hear? All right.
But the thing is, when you think about Alzheimer's, slowing the progress is fine.
Yeah.
Because if you're diagnosed at 60 or 70, you only have to slow it down enough so that you're going to die with Alzheimer's, but not of
from it,
Alzheimer's,
yeah.
so that you'll stay functional.
Yeah, you're going to get this. You're going to get Alzheimer's when you're 100. Sorry. Like, okay, I can deal with that.
I'll tell
like
you
if
right
you-
now,
if
my
you-
insurance would not cover any of this.
Like if, like we've had people in our family who basically became clinically, had clinical dementia at like 80. If they had this kind of treatment, they definitely would have died without ever being impaired by it,
Yeah.
right? They only
Yeah.
needed 10, 20 years or whatever before, of treatment to slow it down that much. You know what I mean?
So how if someone is diagnosed, let's say a 60-year-old, 65-year-old
Yeah.
goes and they're diagnosed, and they start taking the medication, and it's not horrible side effects for them. It'll keep them in a position mentally where they're going to be able to function. For
It
the rest of their
depends.
life.
No, not now. We're not there yet. But it also depends on what stage of their disease. They're 60 when they were diagnosed, but are they late stage at 60, middle, or are they super early stage?
Yeah.
The earlier you are, the far more effective the
How
treatment
do you
is.
catch it early?
That's the question, and that's what a lot of researchers focused on. It's identifying people who need to be treated as early as possible.
Okay.
And that's part of moving forward to make more effective of Alzheimer's treatments is finding those markers and finding out who to screen so that we can identify them early and get the treatment or going early.
Okay.
Because they're definitely way more effective the earlier you take them.
I wish that they were doing this 50 years ago.
Totally.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that in 10, 20 years, we'll have a combination of treatments that are like, all right, basically we could manage this. It's like HIV.
HIV.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a death sentence in the 80s.
Not changing your life
We haven't
expectancy.
cured it, but we've gotten to the point where you could die with it. You're not dying of it. And it doesn't really dramatically affect your life expectancy.
Yeah. Or hopefully your cognition as well.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yep.
Aaron,
All right.
I'm sorry to hear that about your dad. She said her dad's in his 70s and he doesn't remember his own name
Yeah.
and my mother's name. So our mother is dealing with this.
Yeah. And we have a friend who's in his 50s now.
Yeah.
Who has early onset.
Yeah,
Very
late-
tragic. At that age, it's horrible.
Late 50s. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy. It's a horrible disease.
Yeah,
and I wish I wish that instead of spending billions of dollars on wars, we dump that into medical research to
Try
help.
trillions.
Yeah.
And if you go back 20 years and say, like after 9/11, how much money have we spent on fighting wars in the Middle East since 2001? It's like $7 trillion. I can think of a lot of things we could have done with $7 trillion and with a far better outcome than anything we may or may
I
not have
absolutely
achieved in the
agree.
Middle East.
million.
Yeah.
Hey, somebody's got to free that oil.
Don't get me started.
Don't get me
Thank you,
started.
Ian.
All
Thanks,
right, thank you
everybody. We'll
so
see you next
much.
week.
Yes.
Don't go anywhere if you want to watch me do a couple
Yeah, we
of
have
TikToks.
two TikToks, so we're going to do real quick with Steve. But
All right.
yeah, that's it for these two.
Alrighty,
Fellas.
Steve, Sandra's asking questions to get to that after
Let me
TikTok.
do,
She's
the
got some
whole
questions about
music.
fixing things at her Newtown place. Just talk to her.
I haven't checked yet. I was just.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, you're awesome, Ian.
You're awesome. Wait, leave one in the middle for him. Or leave the middle chair for... Oh.
Out of the way.
Is that the mic?
Oh.
There we go. All right. Here we go.
Let's debunk some bullshit.
Let's debunk some dorks. What happened here? Come on. Put that in there. There we go. All right. What else? Whoops. Get back here.
Which one am I going to do first?
Oh, I put it side by side. Somehow I managed to put it in a 2-frame. That's not what I want. How do you de-split? Separate the views. There we go. All right, we'll do this guy first.
All right, so let me think of a good opener.
Stand by with the music. Hold on. Let me just make sure it's unmuted. There we go. This was like one that was like your mind is creating your body or something like that.
Yeah, it's a dualism bullshit thing.
Dualism. All right, you ready to go? Or you need a second?
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Can I go?
Hold on. 3, 2.
So is there scientific evidence that the brain is entirely responsible for consciousness? Short answer is yes. Is there any evidence that consciousness comes from somewhere outside the brain? I think the short answer is a big fat no. Neuroscience has done a great job. Again, we don't know everything about the complexity of the brain. It's a massively complicated organ. But what scientific evidence we do have is all consistent with the interpretation that the mind is, consciousness is a complete manifestation of the biological functioning of our brain. But people keep trying to come up with arguments for why consciousness is somehow outside of the brain. They're always bad arguments. They're always extremely flawed arguments. Let's hear one more.
Nah, you gotta hear me out on this one. So there is an unbelievable study done on a woman in Germany who at the age of 20 got into a serious car accident. As a result of the incident, she suffered traumatic brain injury and cortical blindness. Now, cortical blindness is when the eyes are still intact, the eyes can fully see, but the visual processing areas in the brain are damaged. Now, for 15 years, this was just her life. She was just blind. Now, what nobody knew around her was that she also had dissociative identity disorder. So she had 10 distinctive personalities, or alters they call them, sharing one body, each with their own name, own age, own personality, own voice. So after those 15 years, she started therapy, and after 4 years of doing that, something unimaginable happened. During the session where she was uncovering buried trauma, one of her identities came up, which was a teenage boy. And you know what he fucking did? He stood up, he grabbed the magazine, and he fucking read it. He could see. And over the months, more of our identities started regaining this sight again, while other identities still remained blind. Now, obviously, that raises a lot of questions. So, not long after, researchers hooked her brain up to an EEG, which is a brain scan, and measured her brain's response to light. Now, what is interesting was that when one of her alters came up who could actually see, they saw normal activity. But when a blind identity took over, the signal flatlined. Now, she had the same eyes, the same brain, the same neurons, but her reality would be different.
All right, so for context, in case you're unaware, I am a clinical neurologist, so this is my area of actual topic expertise. And he's making some very big mistakes here. So first of all, he characterizes the case. I read this case report, by the way, fully. He said that it's a case of cortical blindness. It's actually a case of psychogenic blindness. And the authors call it psychogenic blindness throughout the study, and that's what they're looking at. So there's a difference here. Cortical blindness means that the visual pathway that's damaged is the cortex. So in order to have vision, your eyes need to function, right? You could have ocular blindness, that you're blind because the light is whatever, not being picked up or not getting through the eye. Then that communicates through the optic nerve to brainstem structures and then up to the visual cortex, right? So there could be a problem anywhere in that pathway. And this is a case report of a very interesting patient who has both psychogenic blindness, meaning that they can't see, but we can't identify any structural problem that would explain their inability to see, but also has multiple personality disorder, right? They have multiple personalities. So word of caution here, that makes them an extremely rare and atypical patient. And so we have to be very cautious before we generalize or extrapolate anything from this one person to the general population, right? This is not someone whose brain is functioning in a typical way. But the researchers had a specific question, and that was, all right, because this patient did regain the ability to see, and it was personality by personality, which again is good evidence that her blindness was psychogenic, not structural. They looked at what's called visual evoked potentials. And that basically means you flash a light in the eye and then you measure the cortical response to that light. And you're measuring the time it takes for that signal to get there. It's usually like 300 milliseconds. And if it's delayed or blocked, then that tells you there's a pathological problem, a structural problem in that pathway. And so what they found was was that the visually evoked potential was blocked for when a personality was dominant that could not see and was present for personalities that could see. Now, this person is interpreting that. I mean, just reading another, the book of another person who is starting with the premise, starting with the conclusion that consciousness is outside the brain and the brain's just filtering it. So that's their starting point, and then interpreting the study within their belief system. But what the neuroscientist was saying was that no, what this is showing, and this was the question, is at what point in the pathway is the light signal being blocked? Is it being blocked in the cortex itself, right? Is it just that the cortex is not seeing the light, or is the cortex suppressing the conduction of the visual signal, further downstream, right, or upstream in this case? And so, and this was an open question, and now this is one case that we could say, at least in this case, it appears that the cortex is inhibiting the deeper visual structures. And this happens, right? The brain talks to itself. The parts of the brain talk to other parts of the brain, and parts of the brain can inhibit other parts of the brain. And we have discovered in other contexts that the visual cortex does have connections to, basically to earlier parts of the stream. We know that, for example, when you have your primary visual cortex and it sees a shape, right? It says, oh, here's the outline of the shape, here's where the borders are, here's the shading, like the basic sort of two-dimensionality of it. And then that gets communicated into higher parts of the visual cortex, which then say, oh, this shape that this part of the brain's seeing, I'm matching that to an elephant. This is an elephant. And then what it does is it has connections that go back down to the previous part of the brain that says, make this look more like an elephant. So we know that this two-way communication is happening. And what this study shows is that this two-way communication could actually completely inhibit the visual signals, causing blindness. Functional blindness, but it's psychogenic, which just means that it's not due to a damage to any part of the system. It's due to a higher functioning of the brain, right? The brain is functioning, but it's functioning in such a way that it's inhibiting its ability to do something, right? So it's complicated. And our thinking about psychogenic manifestations has evolved a lot over the last 20, 30 years. It's become more nuanced and more complicated. And it's just, we think of it now as it's just a complicated way that some of the higher functioning parts of the brain can actually have a direct effect on some of the more basic functioning parts of the brain to create deficits and symptoms separate from hard and fast lesions, right? There's no part of the brain is damaged. It's just that the brain is operating in a really complicated, curious way that could make it look like there's brain damage, right? That's basically how we're thinking of psychogenic illness. So this study of this unusual patient with multiple personality disorder and psychogenic blindness fits into that paradigm, that sort of newer paradigm that psychogenic illness can be just one part of the brain inhibiting another part of the brain. And this visually evoked potential study is showing that can happen, that the cortex can inhibit more primitive, more basic parts of the visual conduction pathways. This would need to be replicated. We need to see how generalizable this is. Some people, again, also keep in mind that we all have our own unique brains, right? And there are there's neurodiversity, and literally there's we've identified cases where 1% of the population has this alternate pathway in the brain that the other 99% don't have, and this gives them the ability to exhibit this behavior on this specific test. So this could be somebody who is just neuroatypical and has pathways in the brain that most people don't have. That's a possibility because it's one case report. Or it could be that that we all have these pathways, or most of us have these pathways, but they're more robust in this person, or maybe the pathways themselves aren't more robust, but her other issues, multiple personality, some people are probably way more likely to have psychogenic symptoms than other people, et cetera, whatever. Some combination of her neurological function made it possible for one part of her brain to inhibit another part of the brain to create psychogenic blindness. This in no way is evidence that there is consciousness outside of the brain, or the brain is filtering some external source of consciousness. This is completely interpreted within the context of standard neuroscience.
Alrighty.
So there.
Take that with your stuff.
Blind sight is a completely different thing. That's when you have some aspects of cortical sight, but not conscious experience of it. So you can see, you just can't experience your own sight. And so you can react to things subconsciously that you are not consciously seeing. That's where the disconnect is.
All right, let's move on to the next one. Blink, blink, blink. Whoops, wrong computer.
I don't think we can't say she was not, whatever, normal is a loaded term, but she was not neurotypical prior to the accident. I think the multiple personality is separate from the blindness part of it. All right. Anyway, let's listen to this person.
Moving on.
All right. So I'm going to say.
Yeah, start.
Let me think about my opening statement about this person. All right. You ready?
All right, here we go. Hold on. 3, 2.
So cancer is a very complicated medical topic, and there is an entire medical discipline dedicated to it, experts who spend their career researching every possible aspect of it. There are thousands of studies published every year, including what are all the things that increase your risk for getting cancer, especially modifiable risk factors, lifestyle factors. There's also a lot of genetic contributions. You can't do anything about that, at least not now, about your genetic risk factors, but it could help us decide, how best to monitor you for cancer, for example, and does affect treatment, right? And so treatment is increasingly being personalized based upon people's genetics, for example, and also the specific genetics of the cancer itself. It's very complicated. However, if you're a snake oil salesman or a proponent of alternative medicine, there's the common narrative that they like to pretend is reality is that cancer doctors don't know what they're talking about. They're only looking at a tiny subset of this question, and that you really need to talk to gurus who tell you what's really going on. Now, I think most people who fall for this narrative are earnest. I think some other people who are selling this stuff are just making money. But I think people who either have cancer or have a family member with a cancer, it's a very tantalizing narrative to fall for, because it's telling you that you have more control maybe than you really have. But of course, they're doing this in the guise of selling you something. So here's an example of somebody falling for this snake oil narrative.
From stage 4 cancer when I was 28, and it really made me start questioning the medical system. I'll never forget when she was diagnosed in 2019 with stage 2 breast cancer, a tiny lump. We were in the oncologist's office, and he looked at her and he said, "This is not your fault. This is just bad luck." And we believed him. He had the answers for us. He was an expert in cancer. So we listened to him. He wanted my mom to do surgery to remove the lump in lymph nodes, and he wanted her to do radiation. She did both things, and then she rang the cancer bell, and she was cancer-free. They said, "Go on with your life. This has saved you." Well, my mom's cancer came back in 2023, raging throughout her body. She was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer September 2023, and she died on Christmas Eve that same year. The medical system will say that she died from breast cancer, but what she really died from was a medical system that ignores root causes. They said, "Don't look for an answer. There's no reason you got this. Just do our treatment and you'll be fine." And she died. In a last-ditch effort to save her life, she went to a holistic cancer center, and while it was too late for her, we learned life-changing information that cancer is not random, that your immune system takes care of cancer cells if it's functioning properly. The role of toxins and processed foods and trauma in cancer. All of these things the conventional world laughs at. So I made it my life mission to share what we learned with people, and I have the most insane testimonials. We learned.
So first, I always like to say, I'm very sorry that she lost her mother to breast cancer. And full disclosure, someone very close to me and my family also had breast cancer. They got standard therapy, and they're doing very well. But that's just one anecdote. She's telling one anecdote, but I can correct some things that were said. So, people, I just retired as a physician for 30 years. I can tell you almost every time somebody tells me what a physician told them, it is never accurate. No one ever accurately conveys, a non-physician interpreting what a physician told them. So I would never take that at face value. And I can almost guarantee you that no oncologist would have said what she says they said. What they tell you is, here are the statistics, right? If you have first of all, if you have a breast cancer and there's an identifiable, lump, obviously it's recommended that you get it surgically removed. And then there's adjunctive therapy. The adjunctive therapy is about keeping it from coming back, right? So first of all, they want to know how far did it spread. So they want to know they have clean margins. They want to know if it spread to the lymph nodes. That's the most likely pathway for it to metastasize. So they keep going until they get clean lymph nodes. So they, essentially they've gotten all the cancer that they can identify. And it probably hasn't spread beyond what they're surgically removing. That's step one. Everything else is adjunctive therapy, right? So, and what that is for, that's either radiation or chemotherapy. That's to keep it from coming back, right? So they may be killing some residual cancer cells, but they're also trying to, especially if some cancer cells have gotten out there into your body, or they're outside of the margins that was surgically removed, or maybe they're in a lymph node that was missed, or whatever. So that's to try to kill off any remaining cancer cells to reduce the risk of recurrence. There may also be hormonal therapy if you have breast cancer that is responsive to hormonal therapy. This is all about reducing risk. Nothing reduces it to zero. And no oncologist who's worth his salt would ever tell you that the risk of recurrence is zero. And in fact, there's a part of the treatment plan is monitoring you for recurrence, right? That's part of the overall treatment. Here's our primary treatment, our adjunctive treatment. We're going to try to minimize the chance of recurrence, and we're going to monitor you for recurrence. And there's constantly studies being done to say, how long do we have to do this? How long do we need to do hormonal therapy for? What kind of surveillance do we need to do? They obsessively ask every minute question you could possibly ask about that. And again, also lifestyle factors. Is there anything you could do? Does losing weight reduce the risk of getting recurrence if you have hormonally responsive cancers? Because fat cells can produce estrogen, for example. All of these questions are obsessively researched over and over again to try to really optimize this. So she's kind of glossing over that by saying, they said, if you get this done, it'll be no problem. I guarantee you they did not say that. Unfortunately, some people do get recurrence, and also when it does come back, it does tend to be more aggressive because it's the cancer cells that survived all the other treatments, right? So there's a little bit of selection going on. So it's still statistically to your advantage to get the treatment. Again, it is a numbers game, and your chance of getting a recurrence is a lot lower with standard treatment, but it's not zero. So if you do get it back, unfortunately, then you have to deal with that again. And oftentimes it's almost by definition metastatic, and it may be harder to deal with. So now in terms of the lifestyle factors, again, the claim here is that oncologists, doctors don't know what the lifestyle factors are, or we don't research them, or we don't tell patients about them. None of that is true. There's a vast literature on this, and it's part of oncology. It's a standard part of oncology. But what the gurus are doing are massively exaggerating the effect of nutrition and other lifestyle factors. They're massively undercalling the role of genetics and also the role of luck. Getting cancer is partly luck. Yes, our immune systems do survey the body for cancer cells and kill them when they find them, but a cancer cell might still, again, that's not 100% effective. And as we get older, the risk of a cancer cell evading our immune system increases. And then that immune system, that cancer cell will grow. And it could take years of slowly growing until it gets clinically noticeable. That's the way it works, right? And, we obsessively try to find anything we could do that would modify your risk of it happening to reduce the risk of getting it in the first place. And, standard medical practice is to give tons of advice to patients about things they could do to modify their cancer risk. There are lots of things that we know of that work. For example, don't smoke, right? Smoking is a huge cancer risk. Limit your alcohol intake. Alcohol is a carcinogen. There are certain dietary, like eating a good high fiber diet, having basic, GI health also reduces your risk of cancer. So there's lots of things that are where there's a real signal there. There is a real, way of minimizing and reducing your cancer risk. And this is all part of standard medicine. Absolutely. But again, the gurus try to say, no, it's all lifestyle. It's all lifestyle. You have total control over. It's a game changer. It's a life changer. No, it's not. That is not the case. It is a complicated mix of multiple factors. And, there's a lot of blaming the patient there, which is unfortunately a huge part of the snake oil industry. Is this? It's always your fault because you could have done what I'm selling you, right? Could have saved you. Don't believe it. There's a lot of luck involved in it. Interestingly, as you threw out trauma as an effect, as an aside, especially for breast cancer, that's been studied for 80 years. I mean, that hypothesis was very common in like the 50s, that cancer results because of prior trauma. And in fact, there was a slew of lawsuits where people sued for the trauma that allegedly caused the breast cancer. But in any case, no, it does not. Trauma does not cause cancer. And that has been studied, has been shown not to be the case. But the snake oil salesmen are operating outside of evidence-based medicine, outside of science-based medicine. They're not going based upon the facts. They're going based upon their salesmanship, whatever snake oil they are selling. Don't believe it, and don't believe this nonsense that people who have dedicated their lives to studying cancer and treating patients with cancer don't know what they're talking about. It's just nonsense.
All righty. That's that.
It's a wrap.
That is that for this week. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Make sure you send us in some more weird things you see on the internet each week.
Weird shit on the internet.
Check out the events page for upcoming events. I don't know what else is going on. The episode's coming out this Friday, right? I think usually a day early, like for patrons.
The show comes out on Friday if you're for patrons, and on Saturday for everyone else.
That's right.
For the Gen Pop.
The Gen Pop. All right. Well, I think that's it. I don't know if there's anything else to say. We've done it. We've succeeded.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for being here. We'll see you again next week. aq6 episodes are coming out every Monday.
Political reality
today. There's one coming out, including an email. So make sure you subscribe and follow and blah, 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 and Patreon and all that fun stuff.
All right. Thank you,
thanks,
everyone.
everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.